Thanks for coming to listen to our Young Professional Network's volunteers, who some of them I'm sure were voluntold. I know it's the case in my municipality, but no, they also volunteered. We want to hear what they have to say. After they do the presentation, I'll give a few pointers about the rest of the evening and what we're doing. So it's my pleasure to introduce the Young Professional Network to discuss their progress in developing a professional forum for young finance practitioners in the sector. MFOA is so pleased to see how this group has been advancing this past year. We've let them run their own show, and in my municipality, I know we have some really strong people who have stepped up to the plate and joined the YPN network and are working hard to move this along. Some of us are retiring, myself included, and there's a need to have the young people in our organizations start to make the connections that we're making and start to get involved in the broader municipal context, which I think is what this group of people is doing and what they're going to tell you about. So with that introduction in mind, I'd like to introduce Caleb Danuden, who is the YPN Steering Committee Chair, and he's going to come up and he's the Manager of Financial Services and the Deputy Treasurer at the City of Quinte West. And with him is James Sabran. Hold the applause, we'll do it after I introduce. James is on the YPN Steering Committee. He's the Events Coordinator. And I'm really proud to say that James works with me in Ottawa. He's a finance business review analyst. Up to you guys.
All right. Well, thank you for coming out this afternoon. So as Mona mentioned, I'm Caleb. I work at the City of Quinte West. I'll just introduce our committee. So we have 5 members. We have Cynthia Brenner from the City of Ottawa, and Angela Shipway from Orangeville, and Laura Kelly is from the City of Ottawa, and she wasn't able to be here. So the MFOA has been generous enough to give us some time to showcase who we are and what we've done this year. James and I will give you a brief update, and then we'll introduce our speaker for the 3rd YPN Talk of the year. Can I ask how many of you are YPN members? No. Yeah. Okay. How many of you have YPN members at your organization? Yeah. Okay. So we thank those of you who have already joined or told others about us, and we encourage you to continue to promote us. Spread the word. We have over 100 members already. We're only in our 2nd year, so we're still working on growing our membership. So some of you may already know a bit about us. Those who don't, we're a subcommittee of the MFOA. So we have, we're basically there for those who are new to the sector. We kind of had a general rule for those who are under 35, but basically those who are new to the sector, we're available for you. The 5 committee members, along with MFOA representation, we meet monthly via conference call, and we work on our yearly goals. So we do this on our own time, but with the support of our municipalities. We're continuing to try to develop programs that encourage networking, promote involvement and idea sharing, and provide resources that will help us all prepare for leading the municipalities of tomorrow. We are a network of young professionals led by a committee of young professionals. Just a reminder that it's free to join the YPN. You can email us at ypn@mfoa.on.ca. Or you can go to our website, and if you haven't seen it already, our website's within the MFOA website. There's a YPN tab and information about what we do there, our mission and vision, and also a tab where you can join and fill in the information. So please, again, tell others about us. So I'll tell you a bit about our goals. So this year, our goals were to continue what the first committee started. So we're only in our 2nd year, I believe, as a committee. So our goal was to continue what the first committee started, and also to focus some of our attention on offering our membership something. This core offering became what we call the YPN Talk, and James will just introduce this YPN Talk in a minute. As for the services that we're continuing, we have the mentorship program. So this is an invaluable opportunity for us as young professionals to soak up the knowledge from those with a lot of experience and knowledge in our sector. This is a simple process where we connect a mentor and mentee and let both parties benefit by learning from each other. So if you're interested in this program, again, just email us. Our contact information is on the MFOA website. We also encourage the use of networking through online social networks. So we have a LinkedIn profile. Some of you may be connected to that. If that's your form of communicating or networking, please connect to us there, and feel free to share links and ideas there. The other area where we're going to start to network is through the discussion forum. So MFOA has a discussion forum. We plan to launch these YPN Talks. We're videotaping them, so they will be posted on our webpage, and once they're posted, we hope they will kind of be a starting point for us to start dialogue. And so we encourage you to go to the discussion forums on the MFOA website, and we'll start some discussions there. So I'll let James tell you a bit about the YPN Talks.
Great, thanks, Caleb. So we modeled what we're calling our YPN Talks over TED Talks. So does anyone here know what a TED Talk is? Okay, a few people do. But anyway, what these TED Talks are just short presentations that are meant to sort of spike people's interest and sort of promote action. So although their topics are a lot more global and more important to civilization, we're modeling ours obviously in municipal finance. But they are meant to be short. So we've set a maximum of about 15 to 18 minutes for these talks, and a lot of people want a lot more out of our speakers. But really what we do is we do challenge our speakers to condense what they know in a short format. So it's long enough to be serious, but short enough to hold everyone's attention. And that's what we're going to be doing here shortly. And as Albert Einstein once put it, if you can't explain it simply, a concept simply, then you don't understand it well enough. So that's really what we're challenging our speakers to do. So we've held, as Caleb mentioned, this is our third event this year. We had a standalone YPN Talks in Ottawa where, I say, we're just out there by ourselves, and we had 5 speakers, and we managed to get over 70 people out. Those videos will be going online shortly, so if you do have young professionals in your organization, please tell them to look online for these videos, because there's a lot of value in just, again, sharing ideas. And as our tagline says, it's fresh ideas on municipal finance. So with that being said, we're going to be getting our YPN Talk of the day rolling shortly, so I'm going to hand it back over to Caleb to introduce our speaker.
So I'd like to introduce our speaker for our third YPN Talk of the year, Paul Shipway. So Paul Shipway is currently the CAO of the Municipality of Bayham. Paul was previously employed as a deputy clerk with the Township of Uxbridge and the Township of McKellar. Paul attended University of Western Ontario and is a strong believer in local government and collectively accomplishing what cannot be accomplished as an individual. So welcome, Paul.
Thank you very much for having me today. I kind of feel like now there's a lot of expectation to live up to, and I know Kate Graham from the City of London previously spoke, and she's very impressive, so don't hold me to that standard. I'm here to talk about the importance of investing in the future, new professionals in the workforce. I'm going to diverge a little bit from finance and just more towards the importance of the municipal sector. And like they said, right now I'm privileged enough to be the CAO of the Municipality of Bayham. So why am I here? I'm not a finance professional. I like to think I'm a bit guilty by association. My sister-in-law is on the YPN Committee, and I happen to be on the AMCTO New Professional Committee as well. But when I get asked to come speak at these things, it ties into, I think, that I'm kind of an example of what being given the opportunity to work with managers who enable you to achieve your fullest. So in the municipality of McKellar and Uxbridge, I had managers who empowered me to go beyond the role that I was within. And now I get to be a CAO. It's a great privilege, but that's all on the backs of what they allowed me to do. So I think that ties in nicely. So just a little bit of background, what shapes my ideologies and what's going to kind of form about the importance of investing in municipal professionals is process engineering, workflows, and automation. There's a lot of demands on municipalities now, and those things are important. The Dan Pink TED Talk, The Puzzle of Motivation and Intrinsic Motivators, is shaping how I'm running my municipality now. Existentialism, I won't get all philosophical on you, but it ties in nicely. And there's a wonderful paper by the International Institute for Sustainable Development, Hidden Assets, Young Professionals, Knowledge Networks by Cole, Buckler, Creech, and Willard. I encourage you to read it. It's amazing. So before we get going, young professional can be a bit vague, and sometimes the more wily vets will think young professional and think that's someone sitting on your lap patting their head with an apple, and vice versa. The stereotype is that from a young professional, the wily vet is someone they're pushing off into the sunset. But to me, there's a strong integration there, and I define a young professional as someone 19 to 30. They already have one post-secondary degree, maybe more. They have experienced language skills, traveling experience in different regions. They have significant financial concerns. They may have mortgages. They may be supporting someone else. They may be supporting an older family member. And their work and life experiences are still limited. That's the limiting factor. So to me, that's a young professional, and I would say I am a young professional, so you'd have to take in that bit of bias as we go through this presentation. So current situation, we all know that every day more and more legislation comes down upon us, and we're forced to do more and more with less and less, and the needs of our residents are becoming more diverse as well. So there keeps being that need for more and more and more, and we have to get more creative. Studies state also that we could lose up to 44% of our existing staff, and that's not just a loss of staff. The biggest thing is that loss of knowledge. If you go into a municipality, there's always that one person who knows how everything works. And when you lose that person without transferring that knowledge, that's one of the most critical things we have going into the next few years. So what about succession planning? Isn't that taking care of everything? Well, it has its critics, and I would say I'm one of them. Succession planning is great, but it's kind of a gamble, and for municipalities, gambling isn't a number one thing. You can train someone up and they can just leave. If there's not that core intrinsic motivator to have someone to stay there, you're just going to constantly be training and leaving. And I know I can think of a bunch of municipalities that are just training grounds. I think employees are going to work in a certain class of municipality, small, large, super large, and they're going to want to be there, and the salary is going to weigh out. So then you get into the environment and what other intrinsic benefits there are with that job. And succession planning, if you just keep training up those people and they go, you're constantly losing. So my mentor once told me that you are your own succession plan. Your work, your capabilities, what you can demonstrate, what you can give and take from your mentors is what enables you to have a position. And what is the price of failed succession planning? Well, administrative hiring costs, loss of productivity for the time of the replacement, for training the worker, associated with the time that coworkers must use to train that worker, the supervisor time away, communication, public relations. It can just build and build and build. And there are those municipalities out there that are just constant turnstiles. And my big thing is that then you become a creature of reaction. And what I try to preach to my council and my staff is that we want to dictate the flow of things. We want to be as proactive as possible. So if standard succession planning isn't what we're going to do with all the critical things that are facing municipalities and our limited resources, what are we going to do? Well, to me, it's a change in the entire organizational culture and structure of municipalities, and I think we're starting to see it already. So if we focus then on an organizational change and we just look at new professionals, what are the drawbacks of new professionals? And these aren't just my opinion. I try to, when I go through and do these things, these are all factually based. They're not cited here, but if you want to talk to me later, I can give you the MLA citing of these. But the lack of experience of young professionals, the time constraints for orientation and training and network operations, operations being knowledge networks, reluctance of network managers to share information and delegate responsibility, lack of access to decision-making levels, lack of willingness to contribute on the part of the young professional, and mobility of young people. But what I ask myself, are those really just young professional problems, or are those problems that are being shadowed onto young professionals? And are those more organizational structure and organizational culture problems? And how can we deal with those going forward? And with all the realities that municipalities face going forward, can we continue to live with that? So what I like to do is take my organization and flat it out for the most part and make it be more of a team building environment where we empower people, and then utilize automation and process engineering to transfer the knowledge of our experienced professionals into the actual core of what we're doing. So I'm a big proponent of software called Laserfiche, and I literally transfer that knowledge out of my clerk is likely the most wily veteran clerk in Ontario, and I think she would agree the same. She's 70 years old, and she said it was okay to say that. So she has more knowledge on municipal government than I may ever gain, but specifically for our municipality, transferring her knowledge into automating those processes. When someone comes into the municipality there, they just need to be able to demonstrate they can do the job, because those core things, the administrative functions, are already built into the processes. So what are the benefits of new professionals? Supporting, strengthening, and ensuring the continuity of the organization. That's critical. Strengthening the internal network process and interactions, and strengthening the use of communication. No matter what anyone says, we're going to a digital age, and municipalities are going that way as well. I know Middlesex County is experimenting with some interesting internet provision of services and trying to reduce the capital expenditure of municipal offices. And a leading survey of Canadian social values, I won't read the whole thing, but they basically said that new professionals offer a number of things that experienced professionals don't necessarily offer, and they're conducive of the adoption of collaborative work styles and the building of strong partnerships across sectors and regions. And that applies so much to municipalities when you think economies of scale, globalization, interconnectivity. So in conclusion, to try to sum this up to new professionals, just because the landscape is changing doesn't mean it's not going to take work. It takes a ton of work, and it takes your great managers to be able to download that onto you. And one of the things that was the toughest for me to realize was I thought I had all these great ideas, but I don't immediately have all the skills to implement them. And no matter what I think, I'm not always right. So I think that's more for just everyone than just not new professionals. And for employers and managers, invest in the future now. Strengthen the organization. The money that could be going to succession planning could be going to ingraining those practices right into your culture. Utilize those intrinsic motivators. Ask the hard questions. Does someone who's doing one process have to sit in an office all day from 8 to 4? Or could we get flexible with those hours? Could they work different hours? Could it be a row environment where it's results only? Those are the questions we need to ask while still being accountable. Process engineering, I think transferring that knowledge right into your process instead of people, so you're not repeating the same thing over and over again. And ultimately, even if you disagree with all of it, you don't have a choice, because that's the tide of change that's coming. And just in conclusion, young people will ultimately bear the responsibility for implementing the policies and programs necessary for sustainable development and organizational continuity. It's essential that we begin to more effectively incorporate their skills, knowledge, and ideas into current strategies, as well as develop their capacity to become leaders. And I think the YPN program and what MFOA is doing is critical to that. And I think any managers who came and sat in on this are demonstrating that as well. So thank you very much for your time. It's a privilege to get to be here.
Well, thank you again for coming out, and thank you, Paul, for that speech. I think he just made us sound a little more hireable as young professionals, so thanks, Paul. I'll give the floor to you, because Paul, a great resource, he told me before that he just started in 2010 in the municipal sector, already a CAO, so if anybody would like to come forward to the mics here and ask Paul any questions, you're free to do so.
It is the end of the day, so I don't blame you if you don't.
Paul, what level of the organization was your mentor, and also what was your first job in 2010?
Certainly. I started up in the Municipality of McKellar, and I actually just went in as an admin position, and then they gave me the deputy clerk position. It's how things happen in small municipalities. So when I left there, I would say I was functioning as the clerk administrator anyway, and I think my clerk administrator would say the same. And then I transferred down to Uxbridge, and I was just deputy clerk there, but my CAO and clerk there were amazing, and actually the whole senior management team, they really gave me carte blanche to start to connect the departments better and get out of that silo. Even though it's only a 28,000, 30,000 population municipality, they still were relatively siloed and maybe weren't utilizing the region as well as they could as a resource. And my mentor is actually Billy Rayburn from Middlesex County. I was lucky enough when I was in high school to get to go to Take Your Kid to Work Day with him just through family relations. So he's a great resource, and I think is one of the longer standing CAOs in Ontario right now. So.
Hi, Paul. Brian Parrott, Treasurer of Orangeville. I love your idea about capturing the experience and the knowledge of individuals within your organization. I'm wondering, are you using any kind of software product to create a forum or a capture mechanism for that experience and that knowledge?
Certainly. I actually am a huge proponent of Laserfiche through ThinkDocs, and with that I can develop my business processes. And when I say I'm taking ownership of it, but we truly have the whole team build it, and we'll take a process, AP processing or agenda processing, and we'll sit down as a team and we'll say, okay, how do we do this? And we'll point out the points A through F, and then we'll look and go, if we automate that, what can we take out? So then we parse it down to that. Then what we do is we pull in the people who've been managing that and actually turn that process into a guide. So literally I could pull someone off the street, they could sit down at the agenda business process, and there would be a guide for them to go through it. And you click a button and it describes the first step of the process, what you need to do, the next step of the process. And when there's halts in the process, the next level manager gets an automated email saying this process has remained stagnant for so long, check in on it. So that way you're only really required to go check in on that if you're needed. And then also the great thing about that is it's business metrics for everything. So I can look at pretty much any process we've automated, find out the average length of time, find out where there's bottlenecks, find out where we can focus to correct things. But ultimately, yeah, it's about getting that knowledge of someone who's been there for 40 years into the system. Then I can bring anyone in.
All right, well, thanks a lot, Paul. Really appreciate that. I just want to express thanks to the MFOA for continuing to support the YPN and the vision. Specifically, I also want to thank Krista and Eunice. I don't know if they're here right now, but they spend a lot of time with us in our meetings, very helpful with their involvement and direction. I also want to express thanks to my fellow committee members. Done a lot this year, especially with the YPN events, and we've had great involvement from all of them. I would just like to remind everyone that we will be posting these videos on the website, so please let the young people in your organization know about us. Have everyone sign up. We want to increase membership and get the young professionals involved. And then finally, the committee is a yearly committee, so if they're interested also in being committee members, just make them aware of this. This has been a great opportunity for myself to network with the other young professionals. So I'd just like to remind everyone that there is a networking social this evening in the Hard Rock Cafe, actually in the next 15 minutes or so from 5 till 6. So the committee members and I will all be there. So yeah, you're welcome to come out, have some drinks and conversation with us. Whether you're young or not, feel free to come out. And I think that's all, so thanks for coming out tonight.